Marcus Hale sprinted down the marble hallway as the alarm pierced the mansion like a scream. One of the triplets wasn't breathing again. His bare feet slapped against the cold floor, his chest heaving, his heart punching against his ribs as if trying to escape. "Move!" he shouted as two nurses struggled with a jammed crash cart outside the girl's medical wing. "Get out of the way!" He slammed through the door. Celine lay limp on the bed, tiny chest still, skin ashen. Machines flickered with dying numbers. A nurse pumped her chest with frantic, trembling hands. "No, no, no, Celine!" Marcus yelled, gripping the side of the bed so hard his knuckles went bloodless. "Breathe. Baby, breathe." His voice cracked down the middle, raw and broken. He wasn't prepared to lose her. Not tonight. Not like this. Then, just a faint gasp, a shudder, and the smallest rise of her chest. The alarm softened. The room exhaled. But Marcus didn't. His legs buckled, and he leaned over her, brushing trembling fingers through her damp hair. She was alive, but barely, hanging by threads. Always hanging by threads. This was how every night was now. He didn't sleep. He didn't blink. He just waited for death to take one of his girls. That was minutes ago. Now, after Celine stabilized again, the mansion had returned to that cold, heavy quiet, the kind that made people talk in whispers, the kind that felt like mourning even though no one was dead. Not yet. Marcus walked slowly down the hall, wiping his eyes with the back of his hand. Every step echoed grief. His billions couldn't save his girls. His connections couldn't. His private medical team couldn't. Hope was a myth he no longer bothered to chase. Lila, Rowan, Celine, his three bright stars, now dimming one breath at a time. If you love deep, emotional storytelling and billionaire conflicts that feel real and raw, join the Mystery Hub family. Like, subscribe, and stay with us and let us know where you're watching from, because every story here pulls you deeper into a world you'll never want to leave. He entered the East Wing, where morning light filtered through tall windows and made dust hover like tiny ghosts. Staff at the far end froze when they saw him coming. Not because he was harsh, he never yelled, but because he looked like a man who had drowned but somehow kept walking. Mrs. Langford, the head housekeeper, hurried toward him with her hands clasped tight. "Sir, the new maid is arriving in a few minutes." "Should she still?" "Yes," Marcus muttered, rubbing tired eyes. "Just get it done." Truthfully, he didn't care. The house had turned chaotic under the pressure of medical machinery, special diets, lab deliveries, and procedures. Nurses made messes. Doctors tracked in mud. Crying family members left cups everywhere. He needed help, even if it was pointless now. He reached his office, pushed the door open, and froze. A young woman stood by the window, gazing out at the snow-covered grounds as if she owned the place. She wasn't part of his staff. She wasn't dressed in a uniform. She wasn't even carrying a bag. She turned when she sensed him. Beautiful, but not in a glamorous way. More like someone stripped by storms, yet somehow still standing. Auburn brown hair tucked behind her ear, faint freckles across her nose, eyes tired but bright, alive in a way this house no longer remembered. Marcus stiffened. "Who are you? How did you get in here?" "Elise Carter," she said softly. "Your new maid." "No," he said sharply. "My staff know better than to let strangers wander around my private office." She gave a small, puzzled smile. "I just arrived. Mrs. Langford showed me the way." Marcus frowned. "I didn't ask for you to start today." "I know," she whispered. "But your house needed someone today." Something in her voice made him uneasy. She spoke like she knew the weight in these walls, like she heard the fear humming through the vents. He crossed his arms. "Listen, Miss Carter." "Elise," she corrected gently. "Fine. Elise. This isn't a normal household. My daughters are," his voice faltered. "They're extremely ill. Terminally ill. This is not the place to begin a job lightly." She studied him for a long moment, her gaze strangely steady, almost piercing. "I didn't come lightly. I don't need emotional involvement from staff," he muttered. "I need order, cleanliness, reliability. Your daughters need more than that," she replied without hesitation. Marcus stiffened. "You don't know my daughters." "Maybe not yet," she said softly. "But I know what a dying child looks like." His breath hitched. "Don't," he whispered. "Don't pretend you understand what I'm going through." "I'm not pretending." A shadow crossed her face, the shadow of someone who had held death in their arms before. Before he could ask what she meant, a nurse hurried toward them. "Mr. Hale." Rowan is asking for you. Marcus froze. His girls rarely asked for anything anymore. They barely had energy. He didn't look back at Elise. He just ran. Rowan lay on her side beneath a pale blanket, her chest rising with shallow, rapid breaths. Her brown curls clung to her forehead. She looked so small. Too small. He crouched beside her bed, touching her hand gently. Sweetheart, I'm here. Her eyelids fluttered. Daddy, can you stay with us tonight? All three of us. Marcus swallowed. Of course I can. She gave a weak smile. I had a dream. You were far away. I'm not far. Not ever. Her fingers curled around his thumb with surprising strength. I'm scared. Marcus felt his throat close. I know. But I'm here. I'm right here, Rowan. From the doorway, Elise stood watching, silent as breath. Something in her gaze softened as she looked at Rowan. Recognition, empathy, heartbreak. She didn't say a word. She just stood there, absorbing the scene as if every detail mattered. Later, when the triplets slept, Marcus pulled a chair close and sat between their beds. The nurses dimmed the lights. Machines hummed in the silence. Elise slipped into the room with a folded blanket. Marcus glared. I didn't ask you to come in here. I know, she whispered. But you're freezing. He hadn't noticed. She draped the blanket over his shoulders gently, without waiting for permission. Get some sleep, she murmured. He snorted softly. You think I can sleep in this place? You have to, she said. Your daughters need you awake when they open their eyes. He sighed, rubbed his forehead, looked at her again. Why did you really take this job? Elise met his gaze. Because children shouldn't die alone. Marcus felt a jolt in his chest. He opened his mouth, then closed it. He didn't have the strength for this. Just do your job, he muttered. As Elise turned to leave, he couldn't stop himself. Wait. She paused. He swallowed hard. Don't get attached. She gave him a sad smile. That's not possible. She walked away, her footsteps soft and sure, leaving Marcus staring after her with a strange weight in his chest. By morning, the snow had piled higher outside. Nurses bustled in with fresh 4 bags, more meds, more charts filled with bad numbers pretending to be hope. Marcus sat silently through rounds, numb. When he stepped into the hallway, he heard something he hadn't heard in weeks. A laugh. A child's laugh. He spun around. It was coming from the playroom, the room no one used anymore, the room everyone avoided because it reminded them of happier days. Marcus pushed open the door. His jaw dropped. There was Elise on the floor, blowing bubbles, real, shimmering bubbles, into the air. Lila sat propped against a pillow, giggling breathlessly as bubbles floated around her. Rowan was trying weakly to reach for one. Even Celine, still recovering from the night's episode, had her eyes open, watching with faint wonder. No, Marcus whispered. No, this isn't. He stepped forward. Stop, he said harshly. They can't. They're too weak. They can aspirate. Elise met his panic calmly. They're safe. I checked with the nurses. These are medical-grade bubbles. No soap, no chemicals. Marcus froze. Rowan looked up at him. Daddy, look. She lifted her hand, shaky, trembling, and popped a bubble with the tip of her finger. She smiled. A real smile. Marcus felt his knees weaken. You're overstepping, he breathed, staring at Elise. You're pushing them too hard. No, she interrupted softly. I'm giving them something they forgot existed. Elise looked around at the girls, at the bubbles drifting through shafts of morning light. Joy. Marcus felt something collapse inside him. Fear, anger, grief, all tangled. He didn't know whether to scream or thank her. Get out, he whispered. Her expression didn't change. Only if you truly want me to. He didn't answer. He couldn't. Instead, he backed out of the room, chest tight, breath hitching. Because for the first time in months, his daughters looked alive. Not cured, not healed, but alive. Later that afternoon, Dr. Evelyn Hart entered the mansion, flipping through fresh lab reports. Her eyes widened. She read them again and again. When she found Marcus in the hall, she looked pale. Marcus, their white cell counts. All 3 of them. They're rising. He stared at her. That's not possible. I know, she whispered. But it's happening. Before he could respond, a shriek echoed down the hall. His heart stopped again. Mommy, Daddy, look. It was Rowan again, but this time, she wasn't screaming in fear. She was laughing, because she was standing, on her own feet. Elise stood behind her, hands ready to catch, but not touching her. Marcus felt the world tilt. Rowan took a shaky step forward. Then another. Marcus rushed forward and caught her as she stumbled into him. She laughed breathlessly. "Daddy, look." He held her so tightly she squeaked. Tears poured down his face before he could stop them. Elise watched quietly. Not proud, not smug, just hopeful, as if this was exactly what she came here to do. Marcus looked at Rowan, then at Elise. Something had changed, something impossible, and it had only just begun. Marcus didn't sleep that night either, but for the first time in months, it wasn't because he feared losing his daughters. It was because he couldn't stop replaying the sight of Rowan taking those steps. Every time he blinked, he saw her wobbling toward him, her tiny smile full of pride and disbelief. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard her giggle. He had forgotten what their laughter sounded like. He had forgotten what his own heart felt like when it wasn't drowning. He sat by their beds again, watching them breathe, slow, but deeper than before. Elise moved quietly in the background, wiping surfaces, adjusting curtains, checking humidifiers. And every once in a while, she would glance at one of the girls with an expression Marcus didn't understand. It was almost reverence. At around 3 a.m., Celine stirred, shifting weakly beneath her blanket. Marcus leaned in. "Sweetheart, I'm here." Her eyes fluttered open, glazed but focused. "Daddy, I dreamed I was running with Lila and Rowan. All three of us." His breath caught. "That sounds beautiful." Celine gave a tiny smile. "We were fast. You three always were." She blinked slowly, then drifted back to sleep. Across the room, Elise paused and looked over. Something softened in her face, like the ghost of a memory she wasn't ready to speak about. He wanted to ask what she was thinking, but exhaustion pulled at him, and the room dipped in and out of silence. Morning came with a soft glow seeping through the curtains. Marcus jolted awake when Rowan coughed sharply, but it wasn't the terrifying, suffocating cough of the past weeks. It was light, normal, almost healthy. He sat up straighter. Rowan blinked at him. "Daddy, can we have pancakes?" He froze. Pancakes. His daughter hadn't asked for food, actual food, in weeks. You want pancakes?" he whispered. She nodded, smiling faintly. "With strawberries." Marcus exhaled like he'd been punched. "Yes, anything you want." Lila stirred next. Then Celine. All three were awake at the same time for the first time in ages. All three looked brighter. Not well, not strong, but brighter. Marcus rose from his chair and hurried out before he could cry in front of them. He walked straight into Elise. She steadied him quickly. "Are they okay?" He was breathing hard, almost shaking. "They want breakfast." Her eyebrows lifted. "Real breakfast." He nodded, stunned. "Pancakes." Elise placed a hand over her mouth, fighting sudden emotion. "Then let's give them pancakes." In minutes, she was in the kitchen with Mrs. Langford, sleeves rolled up, flipping pancakes with more energy than anyone had shown in months. She added fruit, drizzled a little honey, arranged everything on tiny plates. Mrs. Langford whispered, "Elise, what are you doing to this house?" Elise paused only briefly. "Bringing life back." When they carried the plates upstairs, the girl's eyes widened. Rowan sat up with help from Marcus, her breathing shallow but stable. Lila pushed herself against the pillows. Celine reached weakly for her fork. Marcus watched them eat like he'd forgotten what joy was. "They're like different children," Mrs. Langford murmured, eyes wet. "No," Elise said softly. "They're the same children. They just finally remember they're alive." Marcus turned to her, voice low. "How are you doing this?" "I'm not doing anything," she said gently. "I'm giving them permission to fight. You all stopped giving them that." He flinched. The truth stung. But before he could speak, a sharp cough cut the air. Lila leaned forward, coughing into her hands, her whole body shaking. Marcus rushed over. "Lila, breathe, sweetheart, breathe." Elise was next to him instantly. "Slow breaths, baby. In out, in out." Lila stared at Elise instead of Marcus, following her hand gestures, breathing shakily but steadily. Finally, the coughing stopped. Marcus sagged with relief. "Thank you," he whispered, not looking at Elise. She touched Lila's cheek gently. "Good girl." Lila smiled weakly. That smile was enough to break Marcus' last line of resistance. Later that afternoon, an unexpected brightness filled the hallway. Music, soft, gentle, played from a speaker Elise found in a dusty corner. The girls lay in their beds, listening to it with half-closed eyes. Marcus walked in and froze. She had hung soft, colorful ribbons from the ceiling. Not cheap ones, handmade ones, delicately braided. The air felt warmer, lighter, like a child's room again. He frowned, torn between gratitude and fear. Why are you decorating? Elise's eyes sparkled. Because their birthday is coming. He stiffened. I told you, don't give them false hope. It's not false, she said quietly. They made it through the night. That alone is worth celebrating. Marcus looked away sharply, but then Rowan reached for him with a trembling hand. Daddy, can we have a real birthday? Like before, he felt his throat close. His voice shook. If you want it, then yes. Elise smiled. Mrs. Langford nearly dropped the linens she was carrying. She hadn't heard him speak with so much life in ages. The mansion changed over the next hours in a way no one anticipated. Elise didn't push the girls. She didn't force activity, but she encouraged everything they could do, small things, tiny steps, moments of choice. Which color ribbon do you want near your bed? She asked Lila. Pink, Lila whispered. What about you, Rowan? Blue like the sky. And you, Celine? Celine pointed weakly at a yellow ribbon. That one, like sunshine. Marcus stood in the doorway, watching this strange, surreal transformation. He couldn't reconcile it. The nurses exchanged glances filled with disbelief. Even medical equipment seemed less frightening under the soft-colored ribbons. At one point, he caught Elise humming a gentle lullaby as she worked. A lullaby Marcus didn't recognize. Her voice broke slightly in the middle of a verse, but she kept going. He approached quietly. What song is that? She froze, startled. It's nothing. That wasn't nothing. She hesitated, then whispered. It's something my daughter used to like. Marcus stared at her. Your daughter? Elise looked down. Aria. He waited, sensing the weight of the name. She died of leukemia, she continued softly. 2 years ago. His breath left his body. His voice cracked. I'm so sorry. She just nodded. It's why I'm here. Marcus felt a shiver. Elise. I didn't know. You didn't have to, she whispered. Just let me help your girls. Please. The plea wasn't desperate. It was determined. Marcus gave a small nod. That evening, something unexpected happened again. Celine sat up on her own. Not for long, maybe 20 seconds, but she did it. Lila managed to lift a stuffed animal without help. Rowan hummed along to the lullaby Elise had played. Each moment was tiny. Each moment was miraculous. And each moment terrified Marcus more than anything. He found Elise in the hallway later, reading one of the ribbons she'd hung. You're giving me hope, he whispered. She turned to him. Good. No, he said, voice strangled. Not good. Hope hurts. Hope is cruel. I can't bury my children with hope in my chest. Tears filled his eyes. He didn't hide them. Elise stepped closer. Marcus, hope doesn't hurt. Fear does. No, he shook his head. You don't understand. I do, she said softly. I buried Aria with hope in my chest. But I didn't regret it. Because she fought. And she didn't fight alone. Her eyes glistened. Let your girls fight. Don't let fear rob them of that. Before he could respond, Rowan called from her room. Daddy. Marcus hurried back. Rowan pointed weakly at the window. The sky, it's pink. Outside, streaks of sunset painted the snow-blurred horizon. It's beautiful, she whispered. Marcus nodded, swallowing hard. It is. Lila sighed happily. Can we go outside tomorrow? His heart broke all over again. Sweetheart, the snow is too deep, and you're still too weak. Her smile didn't fade. Maybe one day. Maybe, he echoed. That night, the girls fell asleep together with their beds pushed closer, a suggestion Elise made, claiming closeness helped them breathe easier. Marcus sat between them again. Elise sat in a chair near the door, quietly knitting something with yellow yarn. He watched her hands move. What are you making? A scarf. For you, he guessed. For Celine, Elise replied. Her neck gets cold easily. Marcus didn't know why, but he choked up again. Why do you care so much? Elise didn't look up. Because I wish someone had cared that much for Aria, even when things looked hopeless. Marcus bowed his head. For the first time in months, sleep came for him, slow and heavy, and when his eyes closed, he heard faint giggles instead of machines. The next morning, chaos returned. Dr. Evelyn Hart rushed in with another set of labs. Marcus, she said urgently. Their numbers are climbing again. Marcus, this is statistically impossible. Marcus didn't answer. He was already looking toward the playroom, where Elise had set up another gentle activity. The girls were coloring. Coloring. Celine's hand shook as she held the crayon. but the line she drew was straight enough to be intentional. Lila hummed. Rowan looked focused and calm. Dr. Hart stared, speechless. Mrs. Langford burst into tears. A nurse whispered, "What is happening?" And Elise? She knelt beside the girls, quietly encouraging, quietly present. Marcus watched her with a mix of awe and terror. He whispered under his breath, "You're saving them, and I don't know how." Elise looked up and met his eyes from across the room. "I'm not saving them," she said softly. "They're choosing to live again." But her voice trembled, because she knew something Marcus didn't. Miracles don't come without cost. And something dark, something Elise had not yet revealed, was coming for them all. Marcus didn't know when the first tremor hit him. Maybe it was when he saw Celine lift her head for an entire minute without collapsing. Maybe it was when Rowan asked Elise to braid her hair. Maybe it was when Lila laughed, an unbroken, light laugh that carried down the hall like a sound resurrected. But somewhere in those moments, a fear far older than grief began churning in him. Not fear of death, fear of the impossible. Elise was doing something he couldn't explain, and the closer he looked, the more he sensed a truth she had not said out loud. Something lived behind her gentleness, behind her sorrow, behind the way she watched his daughters as if memorizing them. Something that felt like goodbye. The snow outside thickened overnight, blanketing the mansion in a white silence. The world looked soft, untouched, almost young. Inside the medical wing, warmth pulsed from portable heaters and soft yellow ribbons that swayed with faint drafts. Marcus sat beside Celine's bed that morning, watching her color another shaky drawing. A sun, all yellow. Rowan and Lila were beside her, quiet but awake, their cheeks a shade less pale, their eyes brighter than he remembered. Elise sat with them, her posture gentle and attentive. Every time one of the girls looked tired, she noticed first. Every time one coughed, she steadied their breathing without panic. She listened the way trained pediatric nurses listened. She soothed the way mothers soothed. Marcus watched her closely today. He didn't know why, but something was about to break open. At noon, Dr. Hart pulled him aside, face pale with awe and confusion. "They're stabilizing," she whispered. "Marcus, I've run the numbers 3 times. Their platelet counts doubled overnight. Lila's kidney function improved. Rowan's oxygen saturation is almost normal. Celine's heart rate is steady." He stared at her. "So you're telling me they're healing?" "I'm telling you," she swallowed hard. "I have no medical explanation. Their bodies were shutting down 2 weeks ago. Now they're recovering like they never had the disease at all." He looked toward the playroom, where Elise was showing the girls how to blow warm breath onto a window and draw shapes in the fog. "Then what's doing it?" he whispered. Dr. Hart shook her head. "Either we are witnessing a once-in-a-century spontaneous reversal, or—" She trailed off. "Or what?" Marcus pressed. "Or someone is affecting them in ways I don't understand." His spine went cold. He already knew who she meant. He found Elise in the corridor later, tying a new ribbon above the doorway of the girls' wing. A soft yellow one, Celine's color. "Elise," he said quietly. She turned, her smile warm. "They're having a good morning." "Too good," he whispered. Her smile faltered. Marcus studied her face. "What are you doing to them?" The question didn't come out angry. It came out defeated. Afraid. Elise lowered her eyes. For the first time since she arrived, she looked unsure. "I'm not doing anything harmful," she said softly. "That's not an answer." She exhaled slowly. "I'm helping them remember how to live." Marcus shook his head. "No, this is more than presence. More than hope. Their bodies are changing. I saw the labs. I saw Rowan walk. I saw Celine breathe without coughing for 6 whole minutes." He stepped closer. His voice trembled. "Tell me what you're doing." Elise closed her eyes for a long moment. When she opened them, tears rimmed her lashes. "Arya didn't die right away," she whispered. "Not physically, but she faded long before her last breath. She lost herself to fear, to loneliness. And I lost myself with her." Marcus swallowed. "When she passed, I promised something." Elise's voice broke. "I promised I would never let another child fade alone. Not if I could help it." "Help them how?" Marcus pressed, voice tight. Elise hesitated. "Some people carry a presence with them after grief. A sensitivity. A connection. When I hold a dying child's hand, they feel calm. When I speak to them, they breathe easier. Doctors called it palliative resonance. Nurses called it instinct." She paused. "But parents called it something else." "What?" "Grace," she whispered. Marcus froze. I'm not magic, Marcus. But I know how to reach children who are slipping away. I know how to take their fear and give them light instead. Sometimes their bodies respond. Just a little. Just enough. She looked away. But I've never seen a reversal like this. Not ever. So what's happening to them? Her shoulders shook. I don't know. He stared at her, breath unsteady. He wanted to believe her. But something still felt missing, like she was protecting him from a truth too heavy to say. Before he could ask again, a nurse ran toward them. Mr. Hale. The girls, something's happening. Marcus's blood ran cold. He sprinted through the hall. He burst into the playroom. All three girls were sitting upright, completely upright, laughing at something Elise had drawn on the fogged window. Lila clapped her hands. Rowan grinned, so wide her cheeks pinked. Celine swung her legs gently over the edge of her bed. Elise stood behind them, her posture frozen, eyes wide with shock. Daddy, look, Rowan said breathlessly. I stood up again. Daddy, Lila giggled. We're not tired. Celine pointed to the drawing on the glass. A sun with 3 smiling faces inside it. We made this. Marcus should have melted with joy. But instead, a sharp pain twisted through him. Fear sharper than any he had felt. The girls were almost too alive. Too sudden. Too fast. This wasn't healing. This was a surge. A flare. Bright and beautiful and terrifying. Elise's voice shook as she whispered, "This isn't normal." He looked at her. Her hands trembled. "Marcus," she whispered, eyes wide with dawning horror. They're burning through their strength. What does that mean? It means, she swallowed hard. The spark I lit in them. It's growing too fast. Too intensely. Their bodies aren't ready. No, Marcus stepped closer. No, don't say that. Don't. Look at their breathing, Elise whispered. Marcus looked. Lila's breaths were fast. Too fast. Rowan's fingers trembled uncontrollably. Celine's lips, though smiling, were going slightly blue. No, Marcus breathed. No. Elise turned to him with tears falling. Their bodies are fighting. Harder than ever. But a fight like this, it isn't sustainable. Are you telling me this hope will kill them? He choked. No, Elise said firmly. Fear will kill them. But this, she looked at the girls, her voice trembling. This is their last surge. Marcus felt the world tilt. The last surge before what? He whispered. Elise's eyes filled. Before the turn. Before they either break through or fade. He staggered back. The room spun. The girls, oblivious, kept laughing. That night, the surge deepened. The girls stayed awake for hours, energized beyond logic. They talked. They sat up. They asked for stories. They wanted music. They wanted lights. They wanted to see the stars. Marcus and Elise stayed with them, terrified and mesmerized. Around 2 a.m., it happened. Celine suddenly slumped sideways in her bed, breathing shallow. Lila's hands went limp. Rowan's head dropped forward, eyes fluttering. Machines beeped wildly. Marcus shouted for the nurses. Elise grabbed his hand. Marcus, don't panic. They're turning. They're turning. What does that mean? He screamed. It means the body breaks before it heals, she cried. The nurses rushed in. Dr. Hart sprinted in moments later. What happened? Rowan convulsed once, violently, then went still. Celine's heartbeat slowed. Lila's oxygen plummeted. Marcus fell to his knees. No, please, Elise, help them, help them. Elise knelt in front of the girls. Her hands hovered over their chests, not touching, but close, as if feeling a heat only she could sense. Girls, she whispered, listen to me. You're safe. You're strong. You're here. Stay with us. Don't fade. Not now. Not tonight. Her voice was raw, desperate, begging. Marcus sobbed. The machines beeped faster, then slower, then erratic. They're losing the fight, Dr. Hart said, voice cracking. Elise didn't move. Her eyes closed. Her breathing steadied. Take it from me, she whispered. Marcus snapped his head up. What? Take it from me, she repeated. Take the fear. Take the weight. Take the pain. Take everything. Elise, stop, Marcus shouted. She didn't stop. She leaned forward, touching each girl's forehead lightly with trembling fingers. A soft glow, not light, but warmth, a presence, filled the room. The air shifted, thickened, softened. The girls exhaled as one. Machines steadied. Heart rates climbed. Oxygen rose. Dr. Hart gasped. Their vitals, Marcus, they're stabilizing. Celine opened her eyes first, blinking weakly. Lila groaned softly. Rowan whispered, Daddy, I'm tired. Marcus sobbed with relief. I'm here. I'm here, baby. Elise slumped backward, hitting the floor hard. Marcus whipped toward her. Elise. She was pale, paler than death. Her breathing shallow. Her lips bluish. Dr. Hart rushed to her. She's crashing. Her vitals. God, her vitals are plummeting. Elise. Marcus grabbed her hand. Elise, stay with me. Her eyes fluttered open. She smiled faintly. You asked me what I am, she whispered. Marcus's throat constricted. Don't talk like this. I'm not Grace, she murmured. And I'm not magic. Her eyes drifted to the 3 beds. I'm a mother, she whispered. Just one who couldn't save her own child, but could save yours. No, no, please, Marcus begged. Elise, Rowan whispered weakly from her bed. Don't go. Lila whimpered, stay. Celine reached a trembling hand toward her. Elise's tears slid softly. You're safe now. You'll live. All 3 of you. Her chest rose once more. Give them joy, Marcus, she whispered. Every day? Don't waste it like I did. Marcus clutched her hand desperately. Elise, please don't leave. She smiled one last time. Then her hand went still. The room fell silent. Snow drifted against the window. And Marcus Hale, billionaire, father, broken man, bowed his head and wept over the woman who had walked into his home carrying nothing but grief, love, and a miracle. 3 days later, the triplets opened their eyes fully, healthy, steady, alive. Doctors called it unprecedented. Marcus called it a gift. They celebrated their birthday with yellow, pink, and blue ribbons. A portrait of Elise hung in their playroom. And every night, when the girls slept soundly, breathing deep, breathing strong, Marcus whispered a promise into the quiet. They'll never fade again. I swear it. Outside, the snow began to thaw. And inside the mansion, life, fragile, miraculous life, took its first full breath. If you want more stories filled with danger, love, power, and heart-stopping twists like this, make sure you subscribe to Mystery Hub. Turn on notifications so you never miss the next chapter, because trust me, what comes next will shake everything they thought they knew.